Three, two, one.
Christ, I wasn't ready.
Oh, well, you're
Top of the
ready
morning
now,
to you,
Joe,
laddies.
because we're
Welcome to the Joe
live.
Rogan podcast.
No, this is the Roundabout cast, the second episode. Um, Everyone introduced themselves so people know your voices. I'm Willer.
My name is Bradley.
I'm Joe.
And I'm the special guest, Tyler.
We're the
guest
special
Tyler.
guests. Special boy.
You're less special this time. You're gonna be not special soon, hopefully.
We're gonna have to drop down your status a few tiles.
Just drive it in that I'm not special.
No,
Willer.
that's not what I mean.
You're always special to me, Tyler.
Me too. Okay. So, I guess I should bring up some news for anyone listening that we're also on Google Play now, but we're waiting on like a 24-hour period for them to upload the episode. And we're going to be on iTunes soon, so you can search up the Roundabout cast there, but iTunes apparently has a longer waiting process. Theirs was kind of a pain to upload to, but I digress.
But I digress.
So, in spirit of us staying on schedule, let's get right into it with
Hey.
the first topic, which
What is
I
that
have Smash Brothers 3.0 update. Let's talk about that real quick, because I played a lot of that.
I mean, I know you played a lot of it. I saw you on there.
It's great. You know, the stage builder's back. I mean, if you're not excited for it, you might, have no imagination or like had a bad childhood or something.
I'm very indifferent. I just want my box arenas.
I've
So,
seen some very lewd stages out there.
did you see the one with Aqua's ass shaking, Tyler? I thought you might like that.
I did. I appreciated that one. That it wasn't like a smooth movement either. Like they were able to do like that little jerky movement back
Yeah,
and forth.
no,
Like,
that was good. Yeah,
I was like, that takes some skill right there. That's some art.
they put some thought
Someone-
into it. You can tell.
Yeah.
I like the people who are. I've been seeing some people like remake all of the Smash stages from Nintendo 64.
It's
And,
Nintendo 64.
They're doing that, but I'm like Joe too. I like the box stages where like there's one hole in the top, everybody jumps down, everybody has like one life, and everybody's like at 300% to start out.
Just make it Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, it's
Basically.
basically yeah.
Well,
I've also
I mean-
seen like.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Willer.
No,
I was gonna say there was a bunch of also like almost like Rube Goldberg machine stages
Yes.
where people will like combo into these weird kind of teleporty things or go through cannons and like try to like KO someone else in like
Those
this the
are
most
incredible.
crazy way possible. It's awesome looking.
Those are the ones. So what Tyler was being a little sarcastic there in the start because I wasn't that excited about the stage builder because historically they've sucked. But this one has really proven itself to be good. I have turned around on it, and these teleport stages are a big part of it. I feel like there's gonna be a whole weird subculture of making crazy combo videos off of those.
But what about Joker, huh? Is he
What-
looking cool or not?
He's looking fucking cool, man.
Ooh.
So I am a big fan of Persona 5, so I've added Joker into my rotation
I like
of
Persona
characters.
More
5
like
too.
Persona Jive.
I just haven't beaten it yet.
It's really interesting because like he doesn't. I at first you were saying he doesn't have a lot of kill potential, but that forward smash though,
Yeah, that's true.
that forward smash hurts.
Especially if he has Arsene, that thing can kill you really early, and it has good range.
Mm-hmm.
Can break shields too.
He's probably I think one of the like fastest and quickest
God, he feels fast, dude.
players now. Like
He's
it's
the first
crazy.
member of the DK crew.
He is.
He's not.
He,
Factually not.
I actually I've like lost like where I was on the screen because he dodges so much farther than most other characters I feel and just like flies past other ones that you're just like, oh shit, where am I? But that being said, I feel like he does a lot of plinking damage. Like he really damages you over time,
Mhm.
and he feels very lightweight. And so like you suddenly look down, you're at like 95 percentage or whatever,
And he's
and you
still
feel
kind of struggling to kill you, though. He does
Yeah.
struggle sometimes. He has to commit to stuff, unless he's in Arsene mode,
yeah.
which
Yo, LaFlame, he in Arsene mode.
Bradley's just memeing all episode today. That's what we got.
You know me, dog.
I also did a lot of fighting against Joker because everyone online was Joker, and I was playing with my mains. and I feel like everyone I play has a really bad matchup with Joker, where he
Oh.
eats up all of Lucas's PK moves, and he eats up all of Mega Man's projectiles, and he gets Arsene all the time.
My problem with him is once he has Arson out, is like if you touch him with anything, and he counters, it's gonna hurt.
Oh yeah, his
so
counter is
much.
absurd.
I think there's like 25 on the
hurt.
lightest move.
Yeah, the deal with Joker is get Arsene out, and
You have a very limited kill window, which I think is okay. He's a
Fine.
very high skill.
If
Character
you're,
at that point.
if you're behind, he builds up Arsene faster too, so that helps you.
Yeah.
He's
See-
got some gimps he can do as well.
Also,
I'm
his
worried
grappling hook.
that I'm worried that Joker play is going to turn into like the Joker avoiding the other person until he can really get Arsene out, and then as soon as he does, it turns into the other person avoiding him, and it's
Probably
just kind of a
will be.
cat and mouse deal.
I think unfortunately that's how it's going to be.
It already is like that, man. Some of
Yeah.
those I went into timeout for some, or like really close to it for some matches because it's just he can't kill you and you can't really kill him. And It
Yeah.
just becomes this thing.
We'll see how some high level play turns out.
I
Yes,
think he'll
but
be
gun.
pretty good. Gun. I got
Dude,
pretty good
gun,
with
gun for
Gun.
smash, gun for smash.
His
You say
neutral
that.
B, his neutral B gun is probably one of the worst neutral Bs until it gets upgraded. I feel it's so inconsistent.
But
I don't know.
well, the thing you're
It's
supposed to do with
unblockable
it,
projectile though.
the thing is it unblockable? That's kind of funny.
Yeah, we
you can't block
well,
gun.
like it doesn't bounce off like shields or anything. I haven't seen reflex used against it ever.
Huh.
And you can't see it, so it's almost like a
Like a gun.
It
yeah.
fires and spurts.
If he shoots you up, it's gonna hurt.
So the way gun works, if you're not charged up, you're supposed to do a little flip over people because that actually does a lot of damage. But you have to be conscious of your spacing. To wrap up, we can talk about like the stage and all the work that they put into that, and all the little animations with Joker. Like they really went all out with fan service on that regard.
Boy, is that like not the stage is popping, his outro is popping. Like, ooh, everything that they took all of Joker and we're like, all right, this guy's gonna be our special boy. He's going to look better than every other character in the game, just by a far.
And he does. Well, for the most part, yeah, he really shines style wise, which is fitting.
I'm really happy we got schoolboy outfit too.
Mhm.
Like if it was a female anime-ish type manga character, pose, like I'm sure there's an audience out there that would want the schoolgirl outfit version,
Yeah.
But we got the schoolboy outfit.
It's
and I love
quality.
We got the
Yeah.
schoolboy.
We did it.
More like Tool Boy.
Well, especially because in Persona, you spend as much time as his Persona outfit as you do in his schoolboy outfit.
I would say
Like,
you spend more time in the schoolboy outfit, to be honest.
probably, yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
he's really cool. Absolutely great.
To
He's
wrap
amazing.
up the Smash update, I'll quickly be approaching 200 hours on that game, but let's talk about the future of who do you think is the next DLC character? Everyone go.
Banjo.
Banjo? Yeah.
I don't like it. It's gonna be Steve.
God, no.
Ah.
Oh, Steve would just be a terrible villager, I feel. Like, he's uninteresting. There's nothing really
You
there.
could place down
His whole...
blocks.
He'd probably play more like Link than Villager, if anything.
No, I think he'd play more like villager, I
He
feel
doesn't.
like.
He doesn't have any of the stuff that Villager has. He has pretty much all the stuff that
But he
Link
could
has.
dig, he can plant trees, he can craft.
He can
He
die.
Can pick up, he
He
can pick
can
up
not be in
items.
Smash Bros.
He can have an inventory. I just feel like he wouldn't be fun. I would like Minecraft stages or trophies, but not Minecraft
Agreed.
characters.
I don't even want him as trophies. Get that shit out of here.
Oh, come on.
Get that shit out of here.
Creeper for Smash. But I feel like a Microsoft exclusive character is next. I feel like
Banjo is a likely pick.
Banjo seems like a really ideal pick, but there's a lot of Microsoft exclusive characters that, dude, it could be Voodoo Vince, for all we know. I don't even know if anybody knows who Voodoo Vince
I only
is.
know that because of you've told me about it, I think, once.
Voodoo Vince was like some old arcade game on like the original Xbox. and it's just I have no clue. Like I think everybody would like it to be Banjo,
Oh
but
man,
I don't
What-
think I don't think anybody was sitting there like, oh yeah, Joker's gonna be the next Smash character. Of course,
True.
we got this.
imagine if it's Castle Crashers. Like you control all 4 Castle Crashers.
I might have a heart attack.
Who do you guys want? So we said who's likely. I'll go with Banjo too, but I would have a heart attack at Phoenix Wright, as you all know. I'd probably cry.
Same. I would probably be satisfied with any other character that came out of Phoenix Wright.
Jesus.
Came out.
I'd freak
It's
out.
just he's been in like every Nintendo generation since the Game Boy Advance, I think.
Yes, he has.
And so like it's just like he's there, use him. But
He's
we
got
already
so
have our
much material to draw from, but yeah.
Yeah, but to not steal Willer's character, I would go with a Monster Hunter type
Woo!
deal.
You just picked another Willard character.
Hmm.
Shit.
Well, I play very similar games, but like I think a Monster Hunter would be fun because you could have an almost Ike-like character again.
Or you
Then-
could have all like a moveset that uses all 14 weapons.
Or fuck,
would be
you could
nuts.
even have like a Robin type character where like the sharpness
Oh,
goes down,
yeah,
he
yeah.
drops a rob,
Ooh,
he drops it and changes, but you can like sharpen up and everything to keep that weapon going for a while. I don't know, man. Monster Hunter would be cool. I like Monster Hunter. Y'all should go play Monster Hunter.
Rex out to Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter World though, right?
Yeah, well, I
Any
mean,
kind of them.
It's the most recent one. Not a
That's a good way to start.
good place to start and
Yeah.
end if you want.
Make sure you have the wiki pulled up at all times because the game doesn't teach you how to play.
Ooh.
Uh,
World
yeah,
does
I mean,
more
you're
than
not
the other
wrong.
ones, but Tyler,
Yeah,
Tyler,
it does.
who's your dream pick?
who's your
Oh.
dream daddy?
I'm done with Gino. I realize the dream is dead.
Oh,
I'm
yeah, it's
sorry,
never gonna
bud.
happen.
So I'm gonna throw out a little bit of
Doesn't he owe
Dean
y'all
Martin.
money?
I think
No,
we
I-
covered
I-
that. I'm sure.
Okay.
At this point,
I'm gonna throw out a little bit of a industry thing here. I think the hype is going to exponentially decrease now that everybody's bought the fighter pass for Joker.
true.
Sure.
I
I
fell
think
for it.
we're gonna get something like Yokai Watch, maybe.
Okay.
Ooh,
I'd be
Yokai
down
Watch
with
is
that.
huge in Japan.
It's not who I would want, but I think it would be very interesting to get some a Japanese dominant franchise. up
I'm
in
always
there.
down for more
of
creative
those.
characters like
People
Piranha
don't
Plant.
realize how insanely huge Yokai Watch is in Japan.
It challenges Pokemon and it does a good job at it. That's how good
Which
it
is
is.
crazy.
Mhm.
That's a good point, though, Tyler. They probably busted out Joker just to like get people to like, oh man, are all the DLC characters going to be this cool? I
That's
better buy
true.
the fighter pass.
Honestly,
think
that
it-
would be reassuring because it might mean Monster Hunter and Phoenix Wright are coming. So hey.
Yeah, because those are very niche.
But I do have a want. It would be Beautiful Joe.
Oh my
Ooh.
god.
Everyone's
cool.
only picked good characters. They're also all Capcom characters because hey, that's
true.
the best.
Yeah, and Beautiful Joe is in Marvel vs. Capcom, so I feel like we won't get him because of that reason.
Oh,
And so is Phoenix Wright.
PW, and so is Monster Hunter. But like, this is a different context.
I mean, Mega Man was as well, you know, so
Yeah.
maybe we can.
It's fine. All right.
Oh, I
lay
keep
it on us,
forgetting
Bradley.
Mega Man's in there.
I want Ridley in Smash, but I want real size Ridley, not tiny Ridley that we got.
You want boss stage
Give
Ridley?
us a real DLC.
I want him to take up half the screen.
Well, all right. There
All
we
right.
have it.
Real size Ridley.
Coming at you next time.
Um,
Coming at
Smash
you.
Bros.
all right, Joe, talk to us about Weaveworld.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Weaveworld. What is Weaveworld? Oh man.
Introduction, yeah.
So Weaveworld is a book. It's a modern dark fantasy book. It's the best way to describe it. It takes place during 1980s, so not as modern as now, but it takes place during a more modern time. Cars, electricity, phones, all these kind of non-fantasy associated, in a non-fantasy associated setting. And it's essentially about where there's a separate race of people, individuals called the Seers, who humanity kind of misnomered as demons or fairies or troll or like kind of magical people essentially. And so one day this big monster called the Scourge shows up and starts systematically killing every single one of these every single one of these seer kinds, like, and just targeting them, not like targeting humanity or any other kind of animals. So as a community and a group, they form together to create a large tapestry called the Fuge, which is essentially where they literally store everybody inside. As in, like, every thread on this weave is a different person, place, or thing that is being stored within this huge carpet. And that carpet is then given to a young lady at the time who is to safeguard this tapestry. And then she dies, and a young man accidentally. Yeah, she dies of old age. This happens within the first 2 pages of the book. She dies of old age, and a young man named Cal ends up accidentally stumbling upon the Fuge and meets her granddaughter, who inherits this carpet.
Oh, what the fuck? Weird. We had technical difficulties there for a second, but Joe, you were explaining how the granddaughter inherited this physical carpet of fate.
Oh yeah, so she inherits this carpet, and this boy named Cal ends up stumbling across this carpet as well, and they kind of work together to save the people within this carpet. I'm kind of giving a very generalized summary of the events that unfold, because part of what makes this book interesting is the fact that so many weird and bizarre things happen. It's crazy. Like, to some, like, for example, when there are 2 villains and they each have their own separate powers. One of the villains has a special vest that basically mind controls people and is really actually kind of cool. The other lady, she has 2 ghost sisters who have sex with people forcefully and create babies that are monsters to go hunt down people they want to hunt down.
Okay.
Volunteers tribute.
Is it spoiler or like main antagonist?
It's main antagonist, like 10 pages in, like, it's explained, and
It's
you're
fine.
just like, what is happening?
This is hardly, if this is not a mystery in the story, it's not a spoiler.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like it's very clear of like, oh, she just raped that person behind the tree, like that man behind the tree, and
Yo, that's
made
dark.
a monster.
That's putting the
it's-
dark in dark fantasy.
Yeah. And what's cool about the book is that it's split up into 4 different, like, sub books almost. You have book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4. And book 1's all about finding the carpet and making sure the carpet's safe. Book 2 is about interacting with the people inside the carpet. Book 3 and 4 I can't really get into without spoilers, but they have some very interesting concepts, I feel.
Can you talk around them at all, or is it like that? Is it that complex that you can't?
No, I can. Book 3 is about a cult about the carpet gets formed, and so it's about they're like, we have to free the people within the carpet because that's what they want, that kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And book 4, I can't really describe book 4. Book 4 is kind of a revenge story, but the best way to describe book 4 is to kind of relate it to High Voltage of Steel Ball Run. It's kind of weird where it's just kind of like there, and I'm glad it's there because it kind of ties up a few loose ends and explains a little bit more about the world. But it's just, for the overall arcing story, it just kind of feels like a nice little dessert rather than a climactic finish, essentially. And where book 3, it's like a big battle, and it's really important, and like it kind of ultimately decides the fate of these people overall. Like, book 4 happens and has some more things about it, but you could get rid of book 4 and end on book 3 and be like, oh, okay, I kind of get it, like where this is pointing to and so forth, and the
like
consequences. Yeah, I'm not saying I think I actually enjoyed book 4 a lot. It was a lot more action packed. It was a lot quicker. I think it was a lot shorter as well. There's a lot of imagery with the Genesis and Bible and kind of like creation. It's a very adult book, considering that people get raped and a lot of sexual tension and sexual content involved.
Big sex.
But it's just so strange, and there are times where, like, I would read this and I would have to reread like tens of pages to kind of really realize what happened.
Jeez.
And like when the lady the ghost powers first happened, I literally had to reread the chapter like twice because I had to make sure I was reading what I was depicting correctly.
Is this actual rape? He had to ask,
Yeah.
and it was.
This is the 18 plus podcast.
Hmm. And it's really interesting. The main villain of the book goes through this interesting arc. And that when they were first introduced, I really did not think they were going to be the main villain. I didn't think they were. I kind of like pegged them as their role, and I was like, oh, okay. And then you get to the end, and he is completely 180 on like what he wants, but maintains to stay in character and has his motivations like driven forth, and he.
Now, is there a good build up to that? Because I feel like that's important for something like that.
I think so, especially in book 4 and what it pertains. There's a lot of build up to like the main focus of that book, and it's like a constant question in your back of your mind. And I think that's kind of why book 4 was written, to answer that question, which is nice. But at the same time, it kind of like it once again just feels like it's there in the overall like structure of the story, but it's just there to add a little bit more fluff and world building to what this guy is describing.
Is there an Uncle Iroh for our friend Zuko type thing?
No, it's like this guy is
okay.
Yeah.
You're good. Yeah.
He's a.
Wouldn't Uncle Iroh be the opposite, where he keeps them from going bad?
Well, like, no, I mean, Uncle Iroh, like, Zuko was already bad. Like, Iroh was trying to make him go good the entire time, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing there wasn't something like that for this villain.
There wasn't. But I really that villain I really enjoyed. I kind of liked his arc, and I liked his persona. I liked his characterization. He's a very manipulative person, and you kind of realize how much of a manipulator he is as the story unfolds. And you kind of understand the depth of like what he's willing to sacrifice and who he's willing to like put in front of himself to sacrifice to better himself, essentially. There's a really funny book, really kind of weird, nonsensical moment, but it's kind of funny. Like in the second book actually, where he essentially like hypnotizes a dude and makes him his horse. Like he just carries this guy around piggyback the entire time. It's just this thing is so weird because I feel like there are times where it's like a combination of like JoJo's and it's like weird kind of hyper specific things, and like One Piece characters where they're just super flamboyant and over the top and just kind of like what is happening type of deal.
This seems like a fun aesthetic. You said it was modern time, but like how modern are we talking here?
It was written in the 1980s, so 1980s. There's no cell phones. But there's still
cars
television, cars. Yes.
I like that too.
Yeah,
I like when fantasy can be mixed with like more modern stuff.
Mm-hmm. As terms of themes, I would have to like almost reread it because I really was the entire time focusing more on like what is happening in this book. God, I just remember there's a part where they go on a mountain, and the mountain itself like is a fucking brothel, but it's like a brothel where it gets you like super high and you have this like hyper realistic dream.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, what is happening?
How's the mountain is a brothel, so there's like brothel ladies in the mountain waiting for you?
It's like there's nothing. There's
sex with you?
No.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Actually, you know what? The latter is probably the closer of the two.
Oh boy, this sounds fun.
Yeah. It's a wild ride.
So basically, it's just the episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog where they go into the magic carpet.
Is that an episode?
Yeah, there's an episode with this two-headed lady, and she has a magic carpet that drags people inside.
It's almost the opposite.
So it's like the opposite of that.
The magic carpet throws up people?
Basically, yes. That's actually, like I said before, like every thread is a person, place, or thing, and the carpet gets ripped. And so when it gets ripped, that piece that's ripped off is no longer part of the carpet, so it becomes what it originally was.
I wonder why they call it Weaveworld.
Because it's made out of weaves.
Joe,
I see.
Let's get who would you recommend this to? What kind of person would like this book, and who among us even would enjoy it?
I would definitely recommend it to Bradley.
Seems like
Yeah, it sounds like something to be
Mainly
on my
one
alley.
because I think Bradley's the only person here that will actually read books.
That's
I don't
correct.
read.
Yeah.
I don't read for fun anymore.
The other is that it has this really kind of dark and morally gray uh, characters, I want to say,
I'm
up
all about
until
it.
like the very end where like our villain becomes very mustache twirly. But it's very much like a character is doing something for revenge. One character is doing it because they feel like they obtain heaven. One character is doing it because they are just they feel like they're obligated to do this thing. Um, and what's funny is like these are just human characters, and like the really morally gray characters are these fantasy esque like creatures that live inside of this weave and have these magical powers, and they're the ones that like really like straddle the boundary of like what's good and what's wrong, and kind of they often have these debates within themselves, like talking about like should we should we just kind of try to get along with the humans? No, and they're like super racist towards them, and it's just like literally they call humans cucks.
Yeah.
Really? The word cuck.
They're called cuckoos.
Okay, well,
Cuckoos.
that's different. If they call them actual cucks, that would be pretty groundbreaking in the 80s.
He was ahead of its time.
The idea being that like humans stole the land and now they don't have any land, and that kind of
Freaking
whole-
cucks.
basically. But Bradley would definitely like it. If you like kind of a more darker, I don't want to say grimdark, but like a more darker fantasy and more kind of like
mature, maybe? I don't...
very
Mature
it's a very
topic,
mature
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's very mature and talks about inheritance and talks about dealing with like your dying relatives and stuff like that, as well as like relationships and marriage and just understanding like where you exist in the world. I feel.
Even I'm intrigued by this.
Yeah, it's it was 640 pages. It took me about 2 months to read. It could have taken me shorter, but I got stuck reading One Piece.
Oh,
So
no.
Oh
One Piece
no!
yeah.
Mugiwara.
But I really enjoyed it. I will say that the first few chapters are really kind of like, what is happening? Why does this matter? And then essentially when they sit down and they explain to you what the weave is, that's when everything kind of really kicks off. And you kind of understand like, oh, I understand what the urgency is of this thing. And when I first picked it up, I really didn't. It was completely different from what I expected in terms of Weaveworld. I thought it was a very kind of like hero's journey going into a new world kind of thing, when it's really not. It's about bringing this fantasy world into our world kind of deal.
Reverse isekai.
Basically.
Oh, boy. Tyler like.
Anyways.
Okay, Joe, so to wrap up this topic, give Weaveworld its final score and its strongest and lowest points. It's good and bad.
I would. Okay, so I like the characters. I like the kind of craziness that happens. I like the creativity that happens in its world. I think it's confusingly written at times. I feel like the ending kind of drags along for a bit. There are times where like there's long descriptions of things and you kind of really don't know what's happening until the thing happens. So it goes back to that confusing part where it's just like I don't know what's happening. Why am I reading this? And then something happens and you go back and you reread it. I feel like its flow isn't that great. Like going from paragraph to paragraph isn't the smoothest. Like I'm reading Pet Cemetery now, and like there are times where I don't even realize I've reached the bottom of the page because I've just been reading things. And it flows so smoothly, and I feel like Weaveworld kind of has these jarring moments from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think I give it like a B plus or an A minus in terms of overall. I really liked it. Like it kind of like. I read it. I was like, you know what? This is a book that I would recommend to people that kind of just want something different or weird or bizarre. I definitely wouldn't go around recommending it to my family because of everything that's in it. But it's definitely an interesting read and kind of like, I think there are things that happen in it that you think like you just cannot forget. They're just so weird and they're so crazy. Another negative is I feel like the author could have done a better job of describing his surroundings. That was another thing, is that figuring out where you were physically in the story was always hard to follow. I feel like part of that is that they kind of rely on you having a really good understanding of Liverpool area in England.
Oh boy.
So, yeah. So get your maps out, kids.
Get your Google images and stuff.
Yep.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's good to wrap up the Weaveworld segment. Sounds cool.
He's
do y'all,
nice.
Do y'all want to do a quick break, or you want to roll into the next one?
Yes, because I don't know if my cat's inside, so I need to figure that out.
Go rescue your
Yes.
cat. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. Cats were found, sandwiches were made, and
We rolled the spot.
we're gonna talk about a game called Cuphead. So, Cuphead is an indie game. It was made by like two guys, right?
Mostly.
I think
I
they were-
believe.
It was a nicely sized small studio.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But they had to do a lot to actually make this game, and if you look at the art style of Cuphead, you would see why, because it looks absolutely gorgeous. It's one of the best animated and looking games I've ever seen. And I've always had interest in it, but I never bought it, and it came out to the Switch, and me and Bradley had a time with it. We
Yeah.
made some good progress.
And the fact that I've beat it before did not help at all with us trying to beat these bosses.
You did
It really
great.
doesn't.
It really doesn't. We got our ass kicked for many, many hours, but we had a lot of fun doing it.
And that's kind of the whole Cuphead charm. You're gonna get your ass kicked. It is a very hard action platformer where most of the game is you're fighting bosses. And these bosses have multiple phases. They have insane attacks, insane transformations. They do like a rubber hose animation style transformation into other forms of themselves, and there is absolutely no rhyme or reason why they transform. There's this boss that's like a plane on a tricycle, and she transforms into a moon, and she transforms into like constellations. It's absolute insanity.
And he looks awesome doing it.
Yes, it
I
looks
really-
incredible.
Bird.
I really liked the genie boss and like the desert one.
I
I don't know why that one stuck out to me, but like the voice because each boss kind of has like its own voice too, you know.
Oh, dude, I was gushing about the genie's voice to Willer because he does like this. Wah! That is just hilarious to me.
Boss was the easiest to me.
Which
He
one?
wasn't. Yeah, he was easier than I feel like most of them.
I still can't beat the dragon.
The
The dragon
genie?
pressure.
The genie
the
kicked
genie.
our ass, man.
Well, I mean, all the bosses kick your ass.
Yeah.
Except for the turnip.
But no, Joe's right. Grim Matchstick, the dragon.
Holy
shit.
So,
God, I hate that boss so much.
just to complete the summary of the games, because we're gonna talk about the bosses here in a second and which ones are our favorites and what do we like about the game. But the negative part of the game is the other portion of it, which is the run and gun, which I don't like, and I know Bradley is more positive towards it.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
pretty negative.
It's okay. I
I'm
don't
with you, Willer.
hate it, but I mean, you come to the game for the boss fights.
I agree, and I feel like a lot of people like when they were playing Cuphead, they're like, "Oh, thank God they took extra time to do the running guns." But honestly, like I could have done without them. They're really just there for you to have a way to grind out the coins you need to get your upgrades.
I feel
And
like it'd be cooler if you had boss challenges to get coins or something, like kill
I
the
think
boss
so.
with the roundabout or kill the boss with the chaser shots or
Well,
something.
I think even like if like the coin showed up during the boss fight and you had to like
Yeah.
position yourself poorly to get that coin, that would have been more interesting. But the running guns, though, like I feel like it's just a hassle,
They're
and they're not very long.
They're
It's just,
badly designed IMO. Like there's inclines in them and enemies coming at like weird angles and like
I don't think they're badly designed. I just don't think they're fun.
I feel like the enemy patterns and thought processes, like why they place enemies in certain places, is kind of weird sometimes. And
But,
it feels very clustered from time to time.
Me and Will are pretty much just doing the boss fights. Like we did one or two run and guns just to get the upgrades we wanted, and we're doing boss fights, which is fine with me because the boss fights are what makes the game shine.
they're really good.
I like the run and gun segments simply because I feel like they're learning grounds, and they're a mediator in difficulty between one boss area to the next.
Mm-hmm.
A little
That's a
bit.
good point.
But I also am a huge fan of run and guns in general, like all the way back to like Gunstar Heroes.
Contra.
Yeah.
Well-
and, oh my god, I love Contra.
Like
so
I'm a
that's
huge
more
fan
my-
of Mega Man, for example, and that means not quite a run and gun, but it is definitely a shooty platformer, right? And
Jump shoot man.
Yeah.
jump shoot man. He shoots
Jump
his
shoot
lemons.
man, do the things.
But the way Jump Shoot Man does things, it's like, okay, the designers know you're gonna jump over this enemy, so they put an asshole enemy right where you're gonna jump, and you have to like carefully go through the stages, and you have to weave out of enemy patterns and stuff. And it's really noticeable once you start playing. And like, I feel like the level layouts in Cuphead don't really have that, but I actually also heard that there weren't even going to be running gun levels, but they added it due to fan demand, and it really has that vibe where they feel a little bit tacked on, but
Forced.
Well, like, and they're not
Yeah.
necessary, I think, for most of the game.
they're
If I
optional,
remember
so
correctly.
that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't even have to do them to beat the game. You have to.
You need
have to
them-
beat the bosses.
But you need them to get the good upgrades, like the extra health, the smoke bomb, the spread shot.
Smoke
Like,
bomb, so
smoke
good.
bomb's pretty good. The thing is, like, and I agree with you, Willer, is that like part of the point of the running gun is that you're running and you're shooting and you're killing things. But I feel like with Cuphead, more often than not, you're not really killing anything. You're just holding the shoot button and killing anything that's in front of you, and then avoiding anything else that is not.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no reason for you to take out anything other than the fact that it happens to block your way, and then you have to spam the super button, and then you keep running. I got so it's just they kind of just seem more like a way to get more frustrated. Like when I fight the bosses, with the exception of the dragon, I felt like there's a pattern there that you have to think about and you analyze and you like really learn the bosses. Like they say Dark Souls, 2D Dark Souls, but like you're kind of right, because the whole point of Dark Souls is you
Yeah.
look at your enemy and you slowly read and realize like what that enemy does and learn how to fight that thing as well as you can. With the running guns, it's just kind of like it's just frustrating and it's not fun. There's no checkpoints. It's the whole thing over again. But yeah,
So yeah, okay, we'll move on from that, and now we're gonna gush about all the positives in the game, which there are many of. The bosses and the weapons you get, they're just so fun. It's really good. Me and Bradley did the first two worlds, and then we did one of the
Popeye
boss. Yeah, the Popeye boss, which I got some stuff to say about him. He might be my favorite. It's close.
Oh
I
yeah.
haven't.
Yeah, something about fighting that guy is really fun. That boss has a pattern where the boss himself only shoots a gun, and the ship has like a move where it shoots a cannonball. But then he can summon like sharks, and he has a crane, and at any given time these things can start attacking you at once, and there's like 6 or 7 different things that can attack you, but they all have a really good tell.
Yeah, you have to look for the reeds.
So with the crane's gonna make an angry face, and then as it moves with the angry face, it'll immediately go down as soon as something's below it. So I would yell crane or barrel or something, and I would dash under it, make sure Bradley is like watching out for it, and we would yell out ship because the ship's spitting, and it would just be this chain of us yelling out dumb names and laughing about it and weaving out of stuff. Beams, there's lasers involved. It was really fun.
And then one of the other bosses we just really were just loving was like the first boss, or not like the first one, like the slime, the blue slime.
Oh, yes.
Like Goopy Legrand.
The Dragon Quest slime.
That guy's a
Because
fucking
The
god.
thing is, he has the simplest attacks ever. He just bounces, but despite that, he fucks you up, and it's a lot of fun how simple the boss fight is, yet how hard it is.
So one thing I like about that boss too is that the entire time you kind of like can really like angle yourself and just shoot straight forward, and you really don't have to put effort to where you're aiming. And then you get to the last stage, and he becomes that tombstone,
Yeah.
and you have to angle your shots up
True.
to shoot him, and you have to really. Whereas before you were kind of like dashing, shooting some shots, then dashing and then shooting some shots. This is more like you have to really position yourself in the position to like actually shoot him and get time to shoot him, because otherwise you're not going to be able to hit him at all.
There's another thing that has to go with that, like that gravestone that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So there's 2 modes to each boss fight, right? There's normal and easy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you put it on easy, you don't get the final phase of the normal boss fights.
Yeah,
They leave out some phases in the easy mode, right?
Yeah, they're just like, like I feel like those the final phases are just maybe too intense. But I like that. That's a nice little feature and easy scaling. IMO.
Just as a little side topic, I wanted to bring this up during Sekiro, but I didn't get a chance to because there's a lot of talk right now about games are too hard and they need to have an easy mode so everyone can experience them. But there's the counter argument that some games are made to be hard because it's part of the art form and that's what the designers are going for.
That's what I'm saying.
Where do you guys fall into that argument? Because it comes up in Cuphead, and they chose the way to, hey, if you're going to play the easy mode, you're not going to see the entire boss. Which is a very distinct design. They didn't just lower damage. They didn't just give you more health. They cut out phases of a game where watching the bosses do crazy shit is a big part of the fun.
Yeah. So I watched a video about this from Inside Gaming, and they had a really good kind of explanation to it, where it's like, you know, you can kind of like passively watch a TV show or a movie, and I feel like a lot of people compare that to like they compare video games to those mediums. But the difference, but I think it's better to compare video games to a book, and that's what they did in that video. Because when you read a book, you have to actively read the book. You have to actively pay attention. You have to like actually look and like read each word and process each word. And if you can't process each word or sentence or paragraph, you're not going to be able to get what the book's saying. And so it's kind of the same with a video game, where like you have to actually interact with the game. You have to try. You have to be like invested in the game. And there are games that are very simple, and I get that that's an audience for itself. But like if you read a book and you don't understand what's happening,
you can't blame the author.
Yeah, you just don't have the skill level for that book 85% of the time.
I'm bad at book.
Yeah, sometimes the author is just bad. Like, it's just a badly written book, and that happens. Same thing happens with games. It's a badly designed game, but like the point of the matter is that like you have to make the conscious choice to be a part of that medium. You can't just like, there's audiobooks now, but you can't just like. But even with audiobooks, you still kind of and you never get the same. But like an audiobook is the same thing as watching someone else stream a game. I feel you're not really kind of sitting down and processing like what you are reading. You're not physically holding a thing or kind of controlling the pacing of yourself through this book. You're kind of just being guided along. Like, you don't get control over your experience.
I feel like it's a bit different because part of reading, I feel like, is you also have to be able to imagine, and I feel like that's a skill you gain as you read books. You need to be able to spatially recognize where characters are and all that stuff.
You have to be spatially recognized, like where an enemy is and what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So it's like same kind of you have to have some sort of abstract thinking when you're part of this medium, and movies can do that as well. It's a lot less because everything is being shown to you. Like, a good movie is when it shows you what it's doing, not what it's telling you what it's doing.
True.
Yeah. So like, this is like a big topic too, and like I watched like there was a lot of videos about it because it was very controversial and everything. But one argument that I kind of see and can kind of understand, I guess, is like, you paid $60 or however much for the game, you know, like if you mod it to make it easier for yourself, sure, yeah, that's fine. If that's how you want to play the game, that's great. But I feel like so this is something I was discussing earlier, and this is controversy warning, you know.
Wee woo.
I feel like everything, like, you can't have any, like, if you have any opinions in the games industry that goes against the common grain, you're just kind of like crucified for it. And like, a game that can't be played by everyone due to a certain skill gap is one of those, I feel like, controversial opinions. Like if the Sekiro, you know, if not everybody can beat it, that's the way it is, you know.
Agreed. But
to kind of go with the book thing, you know, like, you paid for this product, it's yours. Sure, yeah, but like, if I buy World of Warcraft subscription and then download mods for it and cheats that are going to get my character up faster, that's illegal in game. Like, there are certain lines that are being crossed, you know, like when it comes to cheats and mods. Like if it's a mod to help your UI user interface be better, or add like maybe colorblind mode, which a lot of games unfortunately don't come with. That's
Yeah.
understandable.
That,
But
that, that
Yeah.
that's different. It's accessibility thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say though, for World of Warcraft, there are various mods that tell you when a certain mechanic is happening, in like bosses. And part of that happens to actually do because of the UI for World of Warcraft is so ancient and so terrible that you can't actually see what the boss is doing unless it's literally flashing in your face. Because there's so much other pixels and stuff flying around, and a lot of debate comes up for that because it's like, well, that kind of eliminates the difficulty of really reading into that boss.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Go ahead.
yeah, it's just I feel like it's a back and forth thing. And I think it also comes with the culture because it's assumed for a lot of like rating groups that you have these UI enhancers, that you have these alert systems, that you have these kind of timers that are pre-made and set for you.
Yeah.
And it's a weird cultural thing because I know like, and I think that's like right now where games are, is that everyone has their like niche culture. Like From Software game players like are very much like, I want the game to be hard, I want it to be difficult, I want it to be challenging. Like that's
There are a lot of gatekeepers for
yeah,
From Software
and
fans.
which I think is wrong. I think that's very terrible
The
practice to
gatekeeping.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
you should welcome people, and you should help people out, but at the same time, it's like it's kind of, you know, sometimes you have to be like for example, fighting games. I don't have the
Yep.
ability to like read fighting games really well, and I know that, and I'm not going to be upset at the fighting game that, you know, oh, like the game should have a read mode where like it highlights what move's going to come up and what I do to counter it. Like, no, it should. I need to get better and learn the counters for that.
And to tie it back into Cuphead, right? Um, making a game hard like they did with Cuphead and Sekiro and all Souls games and all that, it is not just a gatekeeping thing by the designers. It's a design choice to make you feel something, because video games are unique because they're the only type of media where you really have to put in player input, that you have to engage with it, and shit's not gonna move unless you press a button, you know, like it's on you. You have to push forward. You have to have certain level of skill, and when it comes to Cuphead, it's necessary because that game wouldn't be what it is if I could just blaze through the bosses. When me and Bradley were fighting the dragon, we died 180 something times, but each few times I'd say, wait a second, are you noticing that he's doing this? Like, one really specific one was the dragon has this move where he rolls out his tongue and like little flame assholes dance on his tongue and they
Yes.
jump. And it's like, this is so bullshit, it's random. And then after like watching it a little bit more, I'm like, wait, Bradley, we can tell which way they're gonna jump. And
Yeah.
it's because they like lower their little heads in a direction, and we were able to actually start playing around it.
And whenever we finally beat a boss, we celebrate. The game is, the game's hard to give you that feeling. Like, here's
earned
what
it.
here's what I think. Here's
Here's what you're thinking.
Here's what I'm thinking. Here's the expert Bradley opinion. Like I think one of y'all said, like, games like that are meant to be hard to kind of give you that feeling, and you know sometimes they put it in easy mode because someone's like, oh well, I don't like that I can't beat it. Here's what I'm saying. If someone bought a Pokemon game and they were upset that it didn't play like Mario, I'd be like, well, why'd you buy this? This isn't the game you want. And
Do a
like,
bit of research, basically.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
this.
Consumer
If you
awareness.
buy a game like Cuphead or Dark Souls, you're like, oh, I want it to be easy. It's like, okay, well, that's not the point of the game. Like, I was on the Steam forums for Spelunky, and someone was complaining, I just bought this game and it's too hard. I can't beat it. I've tried it like 50 times. And I'm like, if the game was easy, you'd beat it and be done in 15 minutes and you'd never play it again.
And I feel like, and kind of like the main argument that I hear about easy modes and so forth is accessibility, and I do kind of get that, especially with time. And like I play Total Warhammer and I play on normal difficulty because I can't spend the time to figure out really strong strats for hard mode because it takes a lot of like number crunching and thinking, and I get that there's kind of like but the difference I think think between Cuphead and Sekiro and
Total
any other kind
Warhammer.
of Dark Souls or from Warhammer is that Total War Warhammer is meant to be a long-term investing game where you sit down for a long time and you really sit down to figure out the mechanics of this game over a long period of time. It's kind of, whereas Cuphead and Dark Souls, they have this feedback loop where it's you die, you immediately get back in. You like in Cuphead, when you die, you hit the button and you immediately start the boss again.
Yeah.
Like there is no wait time there. And like if in Cuphead, if you had to wait 20 seconds for a boss to load, it would drive you insane. Because
Souls
you want to
games
get
do that.
Souls games do that too, but there's also like a lot of in between time for Souls games in terms of traveling.
You're in the fight longer for those.
And you are in the fight longer than you are in, but it's very much just like it's understanding like those games are meant to like, and I think a lot of the times like people don't realize that death is a mechanic in those games, like in Cuphead or in Dark Souls. It's like you're supposed to die. Like, and that was the longest it took me to get in Dark Souls. Was that I would get frustrated when I die. I was like, oh my god, I'm dying so much. This is bullshit. And then I sat down and talked to my friend one day. It's like, just assume you're gonna die every time you go out from the bonfire, because you're going to die. And the point is, and don't rush through areas. You take them slow and you kind of learn what you're doing. You shouldn't be trying to run through the game. Like, the time comes from understanding the game.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like a point. Like, if you see people like constantly doing that over and over, they're like, I keep dying because they keep running through like Dark Souls. And like, it's like, like the very like the first bonfire outside of the tutorial area where it's got like the graves everywhere.
Right.
And it's like all the skeletons like one hit you, and it's like obviously you're not supposed to go that way.
Yeah.
The people who like keep constantly running that way, I'm just like I'm like constantly bashing my head against a brick. I'm like, why? Like, don't do that.
The game is trying to teach you, without spelling it out, that you should explore your environment and try to find other ways, or find cheesy strategies to beat stuff, because it also encourages you to explore your movesets and your weapons and stuff like that.
But to kind of go back to like the whole difficulty slider system, the point of a difficulty slider is essentially like, how much time are you willing to invest in the game? That's the point of the slider. It's not to say like, it's not to go like, oh, I want this to just be a cakewalk. And I think sometimes people take it as that, where it's just like, I want to dominate and rule over everything. And I get that. But like, it really much is like, how much are you willing to invest in this game? Like, if you go into Halo and put easy on, the game assumes that you're like, oh, you kind of you don't have enough time to play this game at its highest difficulty.
Which is fine.
Which is fine. Like, and it gets that. And as you go up and you can kind of get your skills. Like, if I play a game on hard and Civ or Total Warhammer or anything, I am deciding for myself that I am going to spend a lot of time on this campaign. I want to be invested. I'm not going to just kind of start it and then end it real quickly. And so it really comes down to time. And for Sekiro and these other kind of games for difficulty, the game is telling you, like, this is the difficulty of the game, and it's up to you to kind of decide your pace of how long you want to learn to play it. And the best way to approach those games is to set your own goal. I want to beat just the first boss. That's like the first thing for me in Dark Souls. Like, I just want to get past the wall guardian or whatever it's called. Like, when you, not the very first one, but the one after that's on the wall, because that's where I always got stuck. So it's just like, you have to take it steps at a time, and every like iteration and every level is its own game in itself. And that's what the designer wants you to think, is that like it's its own level. You want to just beat the level by level, not just kind of run through the whole thing.
Go ahead, Tyler. Were you gonna say something?
I wanted to talk about, like, I'll skip my part if we can talk a little bit more about difficulty, because I enjoy this topic.
No, this is good. I like this.
So I want to talk about, like, countering that is two things. One, the thing that has been lost since like 2008 on games, which is game ratings. I feel like those play a big part. And like, maybe no, that's terrible. No, I take that back. Ignore that. I thought I had somewhere to go, but I didn't. But
that happens.
I know I have something with the second one. Is like when y'all were just talking about game research a little bit. So I went and had a vacation with my little cousins this past month in March, and they like to Switch and they like to play video games, and some cousins play more than others. But you know what? Like, the Switch is awesome for this. I sit them down, and there's like Kirby and Mario.
Perfect.
Kirby's great because it's honestly the newest Kirby game, All Star Allies. It wasn't my favorite Kirby game because I thought it was a little too easy.
But it's really good for that situation.
Yeah, it is, and it's a lot of fun to play with little kids and everything.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you know what? This is accessible for this type of audience. Great, that's fantastic. And Mario games have always been, that you make what you can out of it a little bit, as in like Mario 64. Like people speed run the crap out of that to make the game more difficult for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody kind of sets their own boundaries. But like in this 2D side-scrolling Mario, you give there's like that little purple money guy, and like if you play as that character,
Nabbit, yeah,
Nabbit. If you play as Nabbit, he takes no damage from anything. The only way to die is if you literally fall off the level.
Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze has a new funky mode, which the Donkey Kong series is really hard, but new funky mode is like the casual, easier experience.
Tropical Freeze deserves that too because that game is wicked hard. That game does not need to be so difficult.
Same thing.
I'll say that one is like that contradicts our entire topic, but Tropical Freeze.
But at the same time, it's Nintendo knows its audience. That's the other thing too. Part of the game design is kind of marketing. When I was in school, marketing was always told to me marketing isn't just trying to advertise, it's researching of what you're advertising, who you're advertising for. And Nintendo knows like there are kids going to be playing, there are adults going to be playing, and they know they hit a very broad kind of market, surprisingly, but they're known more for kids. So they know that they can make these hard games, but they can put in these easy accessible modes. And then From Software knows it's a very mature game for mature people and adults that have fine motor controls supposedly. So they want to cater towards a group of players that want those big, tough challenges, that like the spending hours on a boss, and like harken back to those NES, SNES, the Super Nintendo days of like, oh man, I was stuck on Lion King level 1 for 16 hours, and then I finally beat it.
Fucking scrub. Okay.
PTSD coming back of Lion King.
Real talk.
Yes.
But that's the thing, and I feel like sometimes it's people getting frustrated over the fact that like, oh my god, this game wasn't meant for me, and I get that sentiment. Like there's a part of you that is incapable of being a part of this experience, and I kind of get that, but at the same time, it's kind of what makes that experience is being part of that struggle and being part
of what makes video games unique,
Yeah, and I feel like that's why people get really kind of gatekeeperish if you don't do things a certain way. Like, and Willer was big pulper of this, where it's like, oh, I'm like Kingdom Hearts, and he looks me dead in the eyes like, you have to play on critical mode.
Okay, I wanted to talk about Kingdom Hearts for a little bit now. Because I feel like Kingdom Hearts is a series where my stance on it flips. I'm all about, I want the hard, difficult one, but I'm also the person who plays a lot of video games, and I want to be challenged. However, Kingdom Hearts is not a game like Cuphead, and it is not a game like Dark Souls. It is designed to be this big arching net where it gathers everyone who loves Disney and Square Enix, and that aesthetic and that kind of storytelling. That kind of story. I'm doing air quotes. And I mean, I like that kind of dumb storytelling. So it's the air quotes is including me. But essentially, that is a game where it's supposed to be like a theme park ride as well. It's supposed to cater to everyone. So when Kingdom Hearts has beginner difficulty and normal and proud, and I like that. I like how there's easier modes so people can experience that game. That's the kind of experience people want. People they want to give people that wonderful experience, but it also needs, for me, that critical mode and that hard difficulty and that Kingdom Hearts 2 level 1 goodness. By the way, in the news, quick news, Kingdom Hearts 3 critical comes out tomorrow, so
Is
I'm
Kingdom
excited
Hearts
for
the
that.
game where you play as Cloud from Final Fantasy?
That's the one.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanna. Well, you briefly mentioned this and kind of had a Eureka moment. I guess I probably people would disagree with me, but like one of the things, another thing that I feel like that this is so niche, and like I'm the only person in this group that I kind of get this connection for, but that's theme park rides and theme park attractions. As a huge Disney World nerd, like shit,
biggest.
the biggest. I could talk about Disney World for like days.
We'll have a topic on that one day. You can
Yeah.
just go at it for 40 minutes.
September, right?
What'd you say?
Post September when we all,
Ooh.
Yeah.
our road trip.
Where I get my virginity of Disney World stolen.
Yeah, I need to book the hotel room.
I hope you're
Anyways.
ready for that.
Yeah, I'm so excited, Willer. Like people going to Disney World and doing it for the first time is my favorite. But there are rides at Disney World that are extreme, and there are rides at Disney World that are very relaxed and just kind of are there for families to sit down on a boat and just watch a bunch of pirates shoot each other. So there's you have to really know what you are getting into, and I see a lot of my favorite example is the Haunted Mansion. The Haunted Mansion in Disney World is a Disney World classic. It's been there since it opened up. It's been in every single Disneyland in some variation that's opened up. It's one of those rides that, if God forbid, strike it down and destroy it, would probably make every single Disney fan cry, because it's just kind of a staple, and it's a holy Disney ground site. And one of the things about the Haunted Mansion is the first 20 minutes of that ride, as a 6-year-old, is the most horrifying thing you have ever experienced.
Can confirm, yeah.
It's you are trapped in a room. A ghost tells you that something's happening. The pictures on the wall begin to stretch literally in front of you. A person hangs themselves. It's
Jesus.
crazy. Yeah, no, but like
Spoilers, Joe.
Yeah,
I know.
don't spoil me, bro.
but the point being is that it's designed at first 20 minutes. It's designed to scare you, and every kind of theme park, and the big thing about Disney is they really focus on their stories, and it's like I'm almost complete opposite when it comes to games and theme park rides. I like a theme park ride that has a lot of care and story put into it, rather than the actual like kind of roller coaster experience, which is really dumb, I feel. But that's me. And so the point of Haunted Mansion, the story is trying to tell, is that like death is scary and terrifying, but that doesn't mean death is bad. Death is death. It's part of life, and you just have to realize that there are things beyond it that we don't know. And it kind of makes a fun little spin on that near the end of the ride. But at the same time, like, you don't take your 4-year-old on Haunted Mansion. It's so scary.
Why doesn't the Titan in Six Flags have an easy mode?
Yeah, like that's the other thing, and that actually is a thing at Disney World in one of the rides for Mission Space. There were 2 different modes. There was green mode and orange mode, and I think part of that was because there was an accident that occurred at Disney World where a young boy was killed during the ride. But part of that was that the parents snuck the boy on board, and he was about 6 inches too short for the ride, which meant his
Well.
body couldn't take this like 6 Gs of this ride, and that's just people being stupid.
Yeah.
And
I don't get that, man. It's just like it's physically dangerous and life-threatening to be below this height on this ride. It's like we'll sneak our kid on it.
I have tons of stories about people going to this world and being dumb and stupid. But like a big thing there is that these rides are designed and these safety hazards are put into place because they have thought ahead and said, like, here's everything that needs to be checked off and done. And it's the same with video games. They set their difficulties and they set like their target audience because that's what the game is designed to do. They're like, this game is hard, this game is mature, this game is has no difficulty slider. This game has difficulty sliders, but you lose parts of the game because you make it easier or so forth. So like, the people that design these games don't do it because they feel like they're excluding people. They're doing it because it's all made with intention and purpose. They want to include as many people as they possibly can, but they also realize that there are some limiting boundaries, and they try to convey that as much as they can to their audience. And people get frustrated when they're told, like, I can't bring my 6-year-old on Mount Everest. It's like, no, ma'am, because he's like
He's
3 inches. He's 6 inches too short for the ride. He will fall out. and I feel like people get and the amount, and I bring that up because people throw these tantrums and fits, and they're not really garnered because they chose to ignore everything else, the advertisement, that graphics, that the game is physically telling them, and you're just like, shit. And like even now, like if you feel like the game is too hard for you, it's just like return it, get your money back. Most things have a 2-hour policy, and even if you bitch and complain, they'll probably return it anyways. But yeah.
But I do recommend doing your research. Very important.
Yeah, I do.
That's a good skill. It's a good skill to learn.
Oh man, I had something to build on with that. Oh, it's gone. Oh no, that's the worst.
No.
Theme parks, Everest, mountains.
Well, okay.
So kids on Mount Everest.
we're gonna start wrapping up the Cuphead / game difficulty topic here. Everyone.
I'd like to point out that in Cuphead, there's a boss. But there's a boss called Mr. Wheezy, and he looks exactly like the ghost of Duke Ellington from Big Mouth.
I haven't gotten to that one. I look forward to it.
Just if y'all have Google, check that out.
I don't want no design spoils. I watched some Cuphead early, like I watched streams and like Let's Plays, but I would always stop around World 2. So I'm reaching new stuff now. Tyler, maybe you'll remember what you were gonna say, but let's all talk about, just to wrap it up, our favorite bosses and stuff in Cuphead.
So I've only gone to the dragon, but I really like the fight. The moon fight, I was frustrated, but that's one of those fights that, like, once I beat it, I felt like, oh my god, I did it. It was really kind of like a big crowning achievement. The frogs gave me the most anger, I think.
Ken and Ryu.
Yeah.
I'm with Joe. Hildeberg gave me the most satisfaction on beating it. I was very, like, finally, like I'm done.
I think Hildeberg is fucking sick. She's so cool. Like, her design and her attacks and her transformations, she's easily my favorite. Big respect to the Blob Boy. The words "This is incredible" were uttered as he was faking me out with his like half delayed jumps. I was like, this man is in my head. He's in there. You can ask Bradley. I was kind of at awe at that boss. He was a cool guy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't play it before.
I'm glad Bradley's alive.
Yeah.
Bradley's out there somewhere alive.
You motherfuckers talk a lot.
And then this is a podcast. The Gorgon girl. I didn't get to beat her. She's the last one we fought.
Hala Maria.
Yes.
Oh, such a babe.
Bradley was like, "All right, when we get to this boss, you got to look at her hip sways," and I was like, "Yeah, they're pretty good. Those good animations."
Good.
What about version 0.5 of Big Mom?
What are you talking about?
Don't know
the candy girl.
Oh, her.
Oh my
man.
God.
Me and Bradley were like, "Yo, this one part of the boss is the chump," and then he was the hardest one.
Yeah.
Did she get a nerf?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I'd probably say my favorite boss, at least how like the fight is presented, is Sally's stage play, but Willer hasn't gotten there yet, so I'm not gonna.
That's a good one.
Say anything about that, but as far as like the fight itself, mechanically, King Dice is the coolest shit ever. I love it so much.
I hear King Dice is harder than the final boss himself, and one of the best bosses there is.
It's pretty freaking hard. It took me days.
Can't wait. Me and Bradley have a play date for finishing it up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I mean, I feel like King Dice is one of those, like, what's the character from Stardust Crusaders?
Vanilla Ice.
Right. Yeah,
Barbie,
yeah. I feel like he's the Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
Takes out like
he's the Valentine.
With him. Yeah.
No, Tyler means he destroys the crew and he's not even the final boss. I feel you.
Yeah.
I guess I'll find out one day. But all right,
we'll find out.
That's good for our. Next up, we have Heather's, which we all actually watched together.
Accidentally. Yeah. I originally just wanted to talk about it by myself, but then I roped these guys into watching Heather's with me while they waited for Smash to update. So I took advantage of the situation.
Sure did. Let's talk
So
about it.
I want to lead with Heather's because I think Heather's is a kind of
Explain what it
textbook
is.
reason. So Heather's is a dark comedy, like right off the bat, that should be expressed. Like I feel like you just need to know that going in. It's a dark comedy about a girl named Veronica who goes to a high school, and her friend group is 3 other women named Heather. They're all named Heather, and they are kind of like the queen bees of the school. There's red Heather, green Heather, and yellow Heather. That's how the movie presents them to us. And one day she meets a charming young boy named JD who provides a solution. And it should also be mentioned that these Heathers are just absolute bitches. They ruin people's lives. They make fun of people. They are very much
big
bullies. And so Veronica meets a young man named JD who provides the solution of murdering them in order to kind of even out the balance of school and set things in a correct order. And things kind of go really off the rails. And when I watched it the first time, it really went in a direction I was not expecting. And I'm not sure if that was the same for y'all.
Absolutely.
I was not expecting it at all.
Oh no, I had no
and I think it does that on purpose. It tries to take this idea of what you expect from a teen comedy or romance film, and really turns it on its head, and even turns dark comedies on its head, I feel like, in terms of like you have a character that has an arc of being a very. So the big thing I want to talk about for Heather's is color. Color is a big thing in Heather's, and I don't think y'all realized it.
No.
Especially so when we're introduced to our 3 Heathers, we have red Heather, green Heather, and yellow Heather. That's how I'm going to call them because I don't remember their last names, and it's much easier to describe. Colors in literature and film have significant meaning. So, for example, red is anger and kind of animosity and rage, but it also kind of alludes to like the Queen of Hearts and kind of like this kind of queen bee and very not regal but dominant personalities. Green is more of a envious but also naive and growing kind of person, and yellow is more associated with shy and scared personalities. And you can see these in the 3 Heathers, and that really applies to their colors. So very spoilers but it's very important for this topic. The first Heather that kind of gets eliminated from the story is the red Heather. She dies.
In a pretty weird scene, I will say.
And so you're like, oh crap, this is like the Heather. She's gone. She's kind of like the big kind of like antagonistic point for our heroine, Veronica. And so but like her entire like outfit is red. She wears a red bow, has a red jacket, even like croquet. Once again, Queen of Hearts, Alice in Wonderland. They play croquet constantly, and she always has the red set of balls and hammers. That's her color. That's always her color. And so after a while in the movie, the green Heather, it's like, oh, I can take this position now. I can be head Heather. And so she begins to don these red colors as well, like the red jacket. She gets the red earrings. She gets the red bow, and she when they go play croquet again, she gets the red colored items. She completely leaves off this envious green drab and this like naive green color.
That's really
and she's
cool
now
because
the red Heather.
I really like when stuff does that. Breaking Bad does a lot with colors too, so I'm a fan. Did not notice though.
Yeah, and yellow Heather, and I really noticed this I really noticed it on my second watch through. And yellow Heather stays yellow, and you kind of get this feeling of her being scared and timid and shy when she like calls on the radio to talk about her problems. And she gets and she has a great line in the movie saying that suicide private is a private matter, which is a whole other irony in its themes. But but they really use that color well. But I think the best one is with Veronica. with Veronica and JD. So when we're introduced to Veronica, she's in this all black outfit, and uh, she has like these big shoulder pads, and she has this kind of lacy kind of. She almost has this evil queen looking aesthetic to her, just the way she dresses. And black is once again the color of death, the color of pure evil, and the color of corruption as well. And for this instance, it's mainly corruption. And so she has this black color throughout the film, and she feels very alienated from these very bright colored Heathers who have these very distinct personality. And like even when they're playing croquet, all four of them, Veronica doesn't participate. She just watches, and this is weird because it's at her own house.
Yeah.
They're playing croquet. So she is very much a bystander in this group. She doesn't feel like she belongs, and she feels like she's kind of trapped in this clique, and she's corrupted by this clique. And so she wears black all the time. And then the only other person that really wears black in this movie is JD, and he's kind of like, as it turns out, our main antagonist of this whole thing, but also her main love interest. And she goes back and forth about this moral dilemma about like the murders and everything they're doing. And halfway through the film, her outfit changes. Instead of wearing black, she now has this blue color shoes and socks and skirts. And blue is the color of heroism and protagonists and the bright blue future and so forth. And she comes to realize to shrug off all this kind of corruption and feeling that she has from the school and from the Heathers, and kind of takes up her own persona and becomes her own individual of the Heathers, and kind of really shines in that. And you see that at the end when she's wearing blue, and she gets the blue, and she uses the blue croquet and starts playing with her former friend from high school, and really reaches out to the other quote unquote lower class students there at the school. She becomes the hero, and that's her arc, is that she learns to kind of move away from this darkness and this corruption and this very narrow thought process of that it's better off to just get rid of people than it is to deal with them in real life. And she kind of learns like, no, you just have to figure out how to deal with them in your own manner. And she becomes the hero by doing this. And JD's the one who kind of stays static and black and saying like, no, it's better if we just remove the people that are troublesome, and that we kind of make a point that that's not the personality of people that we want in our society. But you can't do that because it's wrong to just murder people flat out. And so it's a way to show that she's distancing herself from this idea. Because at the very beginning of the movie, she like writes about like, oh, I want to kill Heather. It's better off the world. They don't exist, and so forth. So, but yeah, that's and like at the very end of the movie, she takes the red ribbon from the newly crowned Red Heather, and is like, I'm in charge now. You're not going to stop me. You can't tell me what to do, and kind of walks off and does her own thing. Anyways, that's my Heather's TED Talk about colors. Thank you for coming.
That was really good.
Really interesting.
Yeah, that's good colors.
Color me impressed, Joe.
Yeah. That was my biggest thing about Heathers I really like. The other thing I like is that in the movie, you have 10 minutes to set up your characters and your plot. And within those first 2 minutes, you learn about the Heathers dynamic. You learn about Veronica's hatred for them. You learn that JD is the psychopath. And you learn what a key plot point that Veronica has perfect handwriting and can mimic anyone else's handwriting that she has seen.
Yeah.
So all these things are set up within the first 10 minutes, and they all come back to play later.
Hey, I didn't catch that. Makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. There's a fat girl that's kind of bullied, and she becomes like a pivotal like theme point. I could talk about Heathers a lot because I really like this movie. It kind of shot up there in my top 10 movies, I think, by accident.
Good 80s film, you know.
It is a really good 80s film, and it gets overshadowed by like Breakfast Club, and I feel like it's trying to emulate it takes those ideas of Breakfast Club and like kind of like turns them on its head and really talks about like how we as a society are taking the plight of the teenage years and turning them into our own entertainment. That's another big theme in this movie. We talked about the suicides and the using the television, having these crazy ass funerals.
Here's all I'm saying. This motherfucker JD, I got some things to say about my boy JD.
Jesus.
Same, Bradley.
I got things to say about my boy JD. Like, here's the thing. Like, you're making a movie, right? You're a director. There's tools you use for like to kind of like there's tools that you can use to portray how you want a character to be perceived. Like the moment, like the second you see the Heathers, you're like, oh my god, it's Popular Girls. The moment I saw JD, we were in the voice chat, and I was like, I can't tell if he's supposed to be like a super cool stud or like a total fucking loser, and you guys are like, maybe both.
For
JD
sure.
made me really uncomfortable, but I think that's kind of the point, because he is a psychopath and he kind of had a personality that drew Veronica into doing some of the things that she does in the movie. And I think like he makes me really uncomfortable. He makes my stomach turn when I see him, and I want to do very mean things to him, but I think he's a good character.
Something that was really cool I noticed was, okay, so like 1980, shoulder pads are a big deal, right? But these girls are in high school, and the main red Heather, she's wearing like these big shoulder pads. She looks like she looks like a
She looks
He-Man
huge.
antagonist with these shoulder pads,
She has a very dominating presence whenever she's on screen.
She got like Thanos looking shoulder pads up there, He's like, ooh, got that chest. Like she never missed Lats Day.
Ready to balance the universe, she is.
Yeah, but it was interesting because that's like mostly a professional workplace kind of thing where the shoulder pads, and it was for mostly older women in that time. And like she tried to always play older than she actually was. And I was like, you know what? That's a very not to me, but that's a well thought out character all the way down to their outfit choices and the way that they act around other people. And then when the way they act when they're just like with their best friend versus all three best friends,
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a very different dynamic.
I feel like that also feeds into like she kind of treats her position in the school kind of job-like, which kind of fits what you're saying, where they have all these petitions going on and like they're really official about what they do. It was really jarring in the start, and I feel like that the costume choice feeds into that.
Yeah.
The movie does a really good job of showing and not telling. It's a really good kind of like, this is a movie that you can watch it and you like, no one says that the yellow Heather is shy. You just realize it because she literally doesn't say anything the entire movie until she goes on the radio show, and maybe like and then one other offline, I think, with the other Heather. But it's really just kind of it's a really great movie of just showing and not telling, and I think it's good for that.
And
yeah,
I feel like
good
this
movie.
is a movie that will really reward rewatches.
I
think
was
so
wondering
too.
why I thought I was missing a character. It turns out one just never talked.
Yep.
Wait, one of the Heathers didn't talk?
She has two lines. She has essentially one line
in the
at
phone,
the funeral,
right?
and then she talks on the phone. But that's all you hear of her the
Crazy.
entire time.
I like that.
Yeah.
One thing with Heathers with me, it took me, I talked about this while we were watching. It took me a while to figure out what kind of movie it was trying to be. I wasn't sure just how campy and out there it was being, but by the end you're like, oh, this is pretty surreal shit.
Yeah,
and you get it at that point. So
After the
rewatch
wood
would be
scene,
good.
yeah, after the wood scene, I really got an idea of like, oh, this is what the movie's trying to be.
Yeah.
It's not. It's yeah.
I
But yeah.
really like movies and books that have some sort of aspect like that, where it's kind of a mystery for the audience trying to figure out what kind of thing it's going to be, but that's conditional on whether it ever actually lands and
In one
becomes
side.
something.
Well, that's good. Let's get the wrap up for Heathers going. Joe,
Final word.
send us off.
All right, I give Heathers great things about Heathers. Tightly packed and well made. The acting is great on that.
Tightly packed.
Winona Ryder is a babe.
Yeah, she is.
It's really funny. It's really funny.
Good laughs. That funeral scene that you mentioned, I was cracking up,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Negatives for it. You really have to pay attention to this movie, or else you're gonna miss things like the handwriting thing.
We suffered a bit from that. Yeah, we were rowdy there at the start.
There's a lot of 80s things in there that would not fly today. Like basically when Heather getting raped in the field almost.
Oh, yeah,
colorful language as well.
Oh man, they were.
Yeah, there's some not
Yeah.
PC language in there.
Yeah. But overall, I give this movie like a solid A in my book. Like it's so good.
It
I
is a good
really
movie.
like it.
Well, all right. That's Heather's.
Very nice.
3, 2, 1, Joe.
We're back. So I just wanted to talk real quick, even though everyone is super against this. I wanted to talk about Terraria because we had to drag these boys away from Terraria because they've been playing so much. And I just want to know why it's so cool. And it does seem cool from what Bradley's told me.
Here's the thing: between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we played almost 39 hours of Terraria, which means that of the 72 hours that comprise those 3 days, we spent more time playing Terraria than not playing Terraria. And that's a small fraction of the time that I've spent playing it total. Tyler's new to it, so Tyler, you want to give us your impressions?
Honestly, so why I think it's a lot of fun for me, it feels like an old Flash game that like you'd play on Miniclip or Addicting Games way back in the day.
Newgrounds.
Yeah, like the UI is really simple. There's not a lot of like options or customization for the actual gameplay experience. It's, even the combat is like point and click with the mouse, and then you use WASD. It just feels like a old school like Flash game, and it's fun, and it's really fun to play with friends. Although I don't understand the replayability behind it, but that might be because I'm playing it on the hardest difficulty at the very get-go.
Yeah, that's the thing is we're playing on expert mode, which for someone who it's their first experience, I imagine it's probably very weird because you just get slaughtered by everything all the time.
I'm having a blast with the death. Like at least because we're not doing hardcore mode. We're doing like easy expert mode.
Yeah. Like the thing is, like on the normal Terraria difficulty, the bosses aren't that hard, and for any given boss, you just have to have slightly better equipment than you had for the last boss. On expert mode, you have to like min-max, you have to get like the best possible equipment, you have to get all the buffs you can get, you have to like consider the weaknesses for the boss, you have to build like a custom arena specifically to fight that boss in.
That's kind of cool.
So it's intense, but it's a lot of fun.
So there's some news also that this game will be coming to Switch soon. So
yeah, finally, people have been waiting. It's kind of weird because Terraria has been ported to virtually everything. It's kind of like Skyrim.
Even microwaves.
It's probably honestly been ported to more things than Skyrim because it's also on like 3DS and phones and stuff like that. So people thought it would be on the Switch at launch, but it took them about 2 years. So
I think I'll check this out when I see it on the Switch on sale. It seems pretty fun. Cool. And I guess some replayability would come. It's a randomly generated world, right? And you have to go fight all these set bosses, but you have to find the right way to go fight them. That's how it works.
Yeah. Most people's first impression, and also mine when I saw the game, is like, oh, it's just 2D Minecraft, right? But then you hop in the game and you're like, holy shit, this is so much more. There's it's everyone kind of finds their own niche that they like doing in the game. I really like making potions and fishing and building. Other people like fighting. There's something in there for everybody.
Nice. I will be checking it out, and I'm sure I will hear much more from you guys in private because you guys are low-key addicted. So it seems like really good stuff.
Yes.
Do you think? When do you think? Speaking of porting things, do you think games are going to start coming out on smart refrigerators?
No.
There's got to be at least one out there already, right?
You're gonna
get like little kids just sitting there in the kitchen playing games on the smart fridge.
They have their phone, dude. They're playing their fucking.
Do you have phones?
They're playing Happy Birds.
They're playing Fortnite on their phones, and you know it.
Fortnite.
I play Pokemon Go.
Not ironically, kind of like hoping, wishing, but I do hope like we have more like choose your own adventure, text-based adventures, but they come out for like Alexas or something like that, because I like the idea of being read as like a story and then kind of choosing your path and deciding what you want to do, like Zorp or whatever. It's just
Didn't Skyrim come out on the Alexa?
Yes,
It did.
It was
I haven't
like a
tried it
little
yet.
gimmick. It's like a choose your own adventure gimmick that they
Yeah.
did. Okay, let's talk about Sword Art Online, which is a Tyler
That's all about it,
topic.
Tyler.
Woo,
Okay.
I'm stepping out of this
Okay.
one.
More like Sword
Alright.
Art Online.
Sword Art Online is an anime right now. It's a light novel adaptation, which a light novel is essentially just a regular, like, I don't know why they call them light novels, honestly. It's just like a series. I guess for Americans, it's just a book of series.
Americans.
I think it's because
Yeah.
they have more visuals with there's like animated not animated scenes, but like shots and pictures and stuff.
I guess, but, if that's the case, a series of unfortunate events is a set of light novels.
It's basically a picture book.
Yeah.
But more anime.
Yeah, not a lot of pictures, but yeah, a lot of anime sense in it. Anyway, if you've seen the first season, a lot of people have, but if you haven't, the story revolves around people playing video games, and if they die in the game, they die in real life. That's like the whole joke, Well, not joke for them, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of memes. There's a lot of memes around it. It's
Pretty
like,
dire for them, I think.
yeah.
You die in the game, you die for real.
The first season has this really intense vibe with it because it starts off they're playing this video game and it's all friendly, and then they die in the game, they die in real life. But spoiler, they make it out because there's 3 seasons. They make it out in like 15 episodes.
Yeah.
But the entire rest of the anime revolves around these 2 characters, Kirito and Asuna, or Kazuto. And the way that the technology and the way that full dive technology is changing the world.
This is the technology that brings them into the game.
Yeah, it's like VR headsets, but it's like got this helmet. It's like a full helmet, and what it does is it looks like that PlayStation View thing.
Yeah.
But
the PlayStation VR.
Yeah, it started off looking like that. Well, first it started off looking like a bicycle helmet. Then it went to the PlayStation View, and now it's at like the Microsoft Smart Glass, where it's like that little visor thing.
Next step, Google Cardboard.
Yeah, and what it does, it's like this would be really cool technology, I think, to have, where like it taps into your spinal cord, and it takes all the
no touchy
commands going from your brain to your spinal cord and intercepts them and puts them into the game. I'm like, that would be dope. I'd be down for that. But so yeah, the rest of it kind of goes away. Like, it still involves video games, but it becomes about this full dive technology and the way that the world changes around it. And Kazuto kind of becomes this investigator for video game crime sort of thing. But it's really difficult to talk about season 3 with not having a lot of spoilers.
Go for it, man, because you just finished it, right? Or it just finished?
No, God, it's on episode 24 out of like 50 something, which this is great. I'm excited about because
it's the break point then?
Yeah, it's at a break point. All of the seasons have been 25 episodes, but the 3rd season is 50. And they're at a break point, which is episode 24. And oh my God, this huge event just happened. Like it's something that's been built. Like, there's 2 storylines going on, and the first storyline kind of just reached its climax. But at the second time, well, like the first storyline, they had done the climax and they had reached like the resolution, and they're like, oh yeah, things are gonna get better now. And then right as soon as that happens, the climax of the second storyline starts, and it's like, oh shit, like things are about to go down. And then it's like, oh yeah, we're not coming back till October.
Great. Good cliffhangers.
Yeah, good times. I hear
cliffhangers.
I hear Game of Thrones does that a lot. I don't watch it, but
Yeah.
Okay. So the Sword Art Online had become a joke a little bit due to a certain game they play at a certain point. And it had become very lighthearted. There were a couple of suggestible themes that happened at one point, like
like sisters and
They weren't related by blood.
Oh yeah,
related
the
by
classic
blood.
line. Everyone say it together now.
Yeah, but it's suggestible, and I think like the second part of the second season really is just awful. So like there was a lot of just whatever parts about it. Like you can skip the second and fourth. You can skip the fourth arc. Really, it's really just filler. There's no character development or anything.
Oof.
But the third season, holy shit! Everybody talks about season 1 being so great because it's gritty. There's like blood, violence, like mature themes and everything. Like you can really see that like happening. Third season takes it back to that, where there's a lot of suspense happening around the main character Kazuto. I want to talk about the third season first episode, but I feel like that spoils things.
Here's the thing. I probably won't watch this because you know I'm not a fan of isekai, and I'm doing Log Horizon for you instead eventually.
Which you should. Okay, you know what? I'll talk about E1. You know, Sword Art's been out since like 2013. You get spoiled, that's your fault. Episode 1, Kirito and Asuna are just like walking down the street, and there was some crazy guy from a clan in the very first season. They were like the murder group, and they would go around killing other players because they didn't think they actually died. They thought it was still just a game, and Kazuto he's coming to kill them and get revenge on them, and Kazuto jumps in the way, and like he gets stabbed by the guy, and he nearly dies, but Kazuto also stabbed him back, so like. You know, it was like even like the other guy died, but Kazuto's in like critical care, and they have this new technology. He gets put into a coma, and they don't know how he's going to wake up. But they have this new technology. They're going to transfer him to a new facility and see what happens. You know, like they have the research for him. Turns out that it's some secret government project, and that's honestly all I can talk about without anything else being spoiler. Like, the rest of it becomes really spoiler after that.
Is the mystery behind this project worthwhile, you would say?
Yes, it is, very much. It's very interesting what the project is doing. The characters involved in it aren't new characters. They've been around for the past seasons.
So you have an attachment to them?
Yeah, you have an attachment to the characters. There's nice chemistry between what's going on. There are no annoying side characters in it this season, which is really nice, especially for the previous history of the show where they always have like 4 or 5 characters that everybody kind of has to get their 2 words in, you know? Klein. So.
Klein. Ooh.
He's he's the best buddy character. Yeah, he's the Joey Wheeler.
Hey man, Joey's cool.
He's the Joey Wheeler of the group. But it really involves around 2 main characters. It's Kazuto and another character, and their adventure really that they're going to do, and there are some suggestively mature themes. Yeah, like there's a little bit of rape at certain points.
Ooh, I would not expect that in Sword Art.
Yeah, it gets dark.
I do.
Yeah, there's a lot of blood, a lot of dismemberment, a lot of action. The combat scenes are extremely well animated. Kirito is not the OP character we know him as. He fights to survive as everyone else does, so it really brings back a lot of suspense because the world he's in now, it has game elements, but it's more something like similar to as if they had lived that way their whole life, you know?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this is going to become like a quick question of like understanding what's first season, second season, because I watched the original on Netflix, and Netflix has season 1, but that is the first game, and then Alfheim. I'm not sure if that's what you're referencing as season 1.
Yeah. So each season is 2 parts.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. And like, I watched the first one, and I really fell off after Alfheim because I felt like so bored, mainly because of the main character just having this almost godlike power within this game, and it's just kind of like like what's the point? He's just really good. And
So
he just kills it.
It looks like they fixed that then, right, Tyler?
Yeah,
A little bit?
So yeah, and I can't tell you how it gets fixed without spoiling. Yeah, like it's really everything in it. I don't know. I feel like everything in it is spoiler if I talk about it at all.
Because other than some very choice episodes about a child, I feel like the first part of Sword Art Online is actually kind of interesting and it really thinks about like people interacting and having to deal with the fact that they're in a video game and they're stuck there and they can't. That's their life now, and so it was enjoyable to watch. The one thing I wish more about season 1 of Sword Art was that it took that first part and made it longer because I was just as it was just like getting like accustomed and like attached to like the guild and Asuna and everything there. It's like, oh, we beat the game.
Yeah.
And then we have Alfheim, and Alfheim is just.
Alfheim is necessary, but I'll say this: you can watch season 1. You need to watch it all. Just know that they're not actually brother and sister. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just remember
not by blood.
Words. Yeah, not by blood. You know,
not by blood.
Yeah.
So you know. It's okay.
Oh God. Oh man. Oof. So, watch the first part of season 2. You don't need to watch the next part. There's literally nothing important to the story at all. There's no character building. Season 3, it's fantastic. If you really enjoyed the first part, I'm really enjoying season 3. It reminds me of the first part. It focuses on Kirito. There's no fluff and no characters. There's one thing that may deter a lot of people is there's no romantic interest either. There's no romance in it, you know?
That sounds great.
Fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah, some people want that, you know? They don't need no waifus.
I feel like from what I hear, the romance in these shows are very pandery, so it'd be honestly better to cut it out at that point.
Yeah. Austin, the main female protagonist is very milk toasty. They're very bland, generic anime girl, I would say, in terms of looks and style.
Big boob Chan.
Oh yeah, you know what? Season 2, part 2 does go into their relationship a lot more. I forgot about that because I really just wash it out. But part 1 of season 3, definitely like a strong A vibe.
Hey,
It's got good animation. It's got good characters. It's got good pacing. It's great.
I'm glad you're liking it because you were bringing it up as you were watching, and it seems like you were having a good time.
Having a good time.
Having a good time.
Speaking of incest, just let me talk about Game of Thrones real quick. Gonna slot this one in. Episode 2 happened yesterday. It was really, I really like this episode. Basically, shit is going down really hard, and it was like a calm before the storm episode, where a lot of character interactions that have been building up for seasons happen, and some people are like, just get to the fighting, and these are the same people that don't like the Fly episode in Breaking Bad. And if you know, you know. Yes. Bradley knows that episode is great. Yeah, just wanted to slide that in.
I heard there was I heard a certain thing in this episode. I don't watch Game of Thrones, so there's gonna be spoiler warning because I don't care.
Do it.
I heard there was some big titty sucking in this last episode.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. A character that was a child at the beginning of the show is now a grown woman, and she murders a bunch of people, and people are fine with it. She becomes like the best assassin ever.
What character? What actor or actress?
It's Macy Williams, and she looks really young, so I can see why that would be off-putting. But she's 22.
No. I don't think this is the character I'm thinking of.
This is the only boob suck that happened.
Okay, I guess.
And just people freaked out when Homegirl wants some dick, and it's like, no, she's probably, they're all about to die. Is the where we're at? Like, shit is getting very serious.
I think we need more boob suck.
No, it was fine. It was the right amount. It was fine.
It was the perfect amount of boob suck.
No, is this okay? So this is the sex scene that happened in this.
Yes, I thought that you were referring to that.
No. I heard there was literal big titty.
Oh, yeah, there was a guy.
Oh, that big titty
I heard the
sucking.
literal big titty sucking.
There's a guy who has a
Not metaphorical for
backstory.
big titty sucking.
It's. I don't know if he was telling the truth, but it was this guy that everyone loves. He's a very fun wildling character. And he's like, yeah, when I was young, I killed a giant when I was a kid, and I snuck into his bed, and I slept with his wife, and then when she woke up, she thought I was her baby, and I drank her giant's milk, and that's how I'm so strong. And everyone's like, what the hell are you talking about? The guy is totally a weirdo, and like they played it for laughs. It was very out there, I will say. So you know what? Yes, big titty sucks. You're
Okay.
Oh.
all right. Okay, so we're
let's get
recording
music,
now. You guys stop talking about where you were, please. Okay. Oh God, what am I? Okay. So I watched. All right, we're gonna talk about a TV show on Netflix called Terrace House, and when I brought that up, everyone's like, "What is that?" Perfect. This is what I wanted. I'm in my element now.
Yes.
Terrace House is a tradition among me and a friend. We meet up like weekly to watch Terrace House and watch JoJo's. She's currently in part 4, but Terrace House is what we're going to talk about because it just finished its third. It's fourth season, but it's the third one that I've seen.
So it's like ongoing, right?
It's ongoing. The next season will air sometime this year. Terrace House is a reality TV show, which is immediately something I wouldn't be drawn into, right? But this one's special. This one's worth bringing up, and this one's worth speaking about. It's a show that takes place in Japan, and it's got an all-Japanese cast. And it's not really, like, there's no gimmicks, there's no games, there's no voting people out of the island. It is 6 strangers, 3 boys and 3 girls, who live in a house, and the cast leaves whenever they want, and they're rotated in and out with a new member. And that's all there is. They're not doing any games. They're still living their life. So they still go to work. They still hang out after work. They still go to school for a lot of them who are younger. And that gives the show a really distinct vibe where it's like, oh, this feels more authentic than your average TV show. Yeah. And the big mix-up to it, I think, is this is all very normal. And then during the episodes, they cut to a panel of like 7 older like comedians and actresses and models, and the panel's always the same with like one person changing every season. And it's a really popular show there, and these people comment on what's going on in the episode, and they kind of serve as like your litmus test for the Japanese audience that's watching the show. But you as an American, you have a completely different experience with this show, and that is why I wanted to bring it up, because the experience you have with it is really something else. We watch anime, right, and we play video games, and we're like, okay, I think I understand Japanese culture, but when you watch a show like this, you really get it, and it's really different from ours, and that's where a lot of the enjoyment comes from, where in the first season I watched, it's called Boys and Girls in the City. It's in Tokyo. And then they have a season that's in Hawaii called Aloha State. It's probably the worst of the 3 because a lot of people there don't know how to speak English very well. So it loses the charm of them having a normal life. So they're kind of like really tied to the events that happen in the show and like hanging out with each other. And they don't have that normal rhythm that really helps the show. And this most recent was in a mountain area called Karuizawa, I believe it's pronounced. It was probably my favorite one of the 3. Yeah, you've probably heard it at some point. And in this first season, I just want you to guess. So a lot of the people come to the show, they want to date. Like, this is a good opportunity to meet really cute boys and girls.
Yeah, to find someone.
Because they're... to find someone. Some people go there for also, like, they go there just for a period of time. It's like, okay, my goal is I want to finish college strong, and I wanted to move here until I finish college, or I want to open a shop, and I'm going to be here until I open my shop. And in the midst, they're all trying to date and all that. Everyone has a different job. Everyone has a different reason for coming there. But they tend to pick really attractive people and really outgoing people, so the show actually has some life in it.
Yeah.
a lot of the girls end up being models as a result. Like they're either in school or they're modeling for the side, and every once in a while you'll get like the more unique girl with the more unique job, and those are always fun. But all the boys and girls they become characters to you, which is kind of fucked up. But you'll catch yourself thinking about them like that because
it's kind of the nature of reality TV. I mean, they produce it to kind of give each person a character.
And it's very true. They'll even cut out some scenes. It's like, well, I didn't know you guys were so close to each other, because they'll condense a week's event into like 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So you cut out, and some people are portrayed more negatively, and you don't see their positive sides. There's always reality show bullshit, but like
I know that always makes me scared and kind of skeptical when I'm watching reality TV, because I'm like, am I seeing these people how they would want to be seen or how they really are?
Yeah, there's even a girl who ends up watching like herself on TV, and she's like, "God, am I that much of an asshole?" She's my favorite.
But yeah, even so, I really like this premise more than a lot of reality TV shows. There's a lot of reality TV with people living in houses, but a lot of time it's just like
trashy, I would say.
Just like kind of random assholes they found on the street.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, let's throw them in here.
This seems more like, I mean, I don't know like the extent, but like really, for Americans, you pick a group of people because they live a lifestyle that is very abstract, or very, very different from everyone else's lifestyle. Like not everybody in America is Jersey Shore or Big Brother or whatever.
Yeah, good point.
Jersey Shore is very alien to me.
But like the idea of like having a rotating cast that is permanently like moved in or moved out, quote unquote, like you don't like there's some change to it. You get a lot. I would imagine you get a lot of different perspectives,
a lot of different dynamics.
Yeah, a lot of different dynamics, so you're not stuck with like the same characters repeating the same mistakes over and over again, I guess, or
that's a big part of it. It feels more organic. Because of it.
Because the whole point of like big thing in life is that people come and leave life as quickly as they want.
Yeah.
Like, so the idea of having a rotating cast that's like real is a very appealing thought to me, because it opens up a more crazier dynamic in terms of like, oh, well, if this person interacted with a person like this and so forth. But yeah,
it really dives into that, because there's so many bromances that are broken up when one of the guys leave, or like really close friendships between the females and or guys who are really close with the girls, but they're just like platonically friends, and like people get crushed when others leave at times. It's like, man, they really, you lived with so many people, you know, and you lived with them and you really got to like them, and something good about that.
Yeah.
So to talk about some of the differences that amused me about this show, it's a show where a lot of attractive people and they want to date, right? Guess how many weeks into season 1 we finally had a couple and we finally had like a kiss?
6.
Okay, Bradley.
What'd you say to me?
Guess how many weeks into season 1 it took until we had a couple and like a kiss and stuff like that?
Honestly, I was gonna say like second week.
Okay, Tyler.
I feel like 12 weeks.
Okay, you're all wrong. It took 18 weeks. And until that 18th week, no one held hands. No one really hugs.
Damn, that's Joe time.
It's fucking crazy. And they're all there. They're all there as young, like they want to date. But here's the real kicker. As soon as they start dating, they fuck the next day immediately. It's crazy.
Oh.
And like the most pure like girl who was super shy about boys, next week it's like, we have stayed in the tatami room. The tatami room is this room where it has the tatami mat, and it's where you go to be alone with your spouse that you found in the house. And it's like, oh, we spent the night in the tatami room and we have done the deed. And they say it like it's no big deal after like being too shy to touch each other or even look at each other very much.
We've done the deed. The deed has been done. Bow and move on.
It's the most glacial startup to the fastest, like 0 to 100, and it's super entertaining. And these people, they will go on many, many dates. In the first season, one guy is like, I'm going to ask out all 3 girls, and I'm going to take a different strategy to each one, and I'm going to do it all at the same time.
What an attitude.
That guy was cool. But he has a story attached to him. So he's like, okay, I'm going to ask you out, but based on your opportunity, on your personality, I'm going to pick the date spot. I'm gonna ask you out, and we're gonna reach a consensus on the date spot. And I'm gonna ask you out, and you're gonna pick for us. So he kind of like selectively attacked each one based on their personalities, and he ends up with a girl called Minori who's just kind of chill and doesn't do much in the house. She's kind of lazy, but like she's fun. He's like a barber, and he gets this really nice meat from one of this one's called the meat incident that I'm going to talk about. He gets a really nice meat from one of his patrons or whatever that he works with, and Minori cooks the meat for the rest of the house when he's away from the house. And when he gets back, he's so hurt by this gesture that she would cook the meat that was given to him by one of his patrons or whatever, that they get in a big fight about it. And it's called the meat incident. And then there's another incident involving the same couple where before they started officially dating, Minori was like, "Get on with it, like ask me out, you gotta commit to me." So she makes him omu rice, which is like omelet rice, and she writes "coward" on it with ketchup, and it's called the coward rice incident. And what ties it all together is that there's that panel I was talking about. They take the biggest shit out of it. Like, they make so much fun of everyone for stuff like this.
This sounds great.
They will pick on people. There's another incident called the Costco incident where this guy called
Willer, stop.
No, this one's good.
You've already sold me. I don't need to know the incident.
Please let me tell you.
You're spoiling us on incidents now.
No, please let me tell you about the Costco. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
God. Oh no, Willer, we'll see the Costco incident.
All right, the Costco incident's really good. I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's this part where there's people hiding stuff from the cameras, and one guy in the house, we call him Detective Burns. He exposes their lies, Phoenix Wright style, to the world to see, and just completely blows their shit out of the water. It happens in the most recent season 2, where like this girl's a hypocrite it's the Minion sock incident where someone bought Minion socks and they're involved in this big web of lie. It's so good and it's so awkward and it's so cringy, but like it's incredible. And yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. I give the show a strong 5. Me and my friend are patiently awaiting for the next season, which will be back in Tokyo.
Joe, I'll be there on Thursday in College Station. We'll watch it.
Yeah,
I won't be here on Thursday.
In a rare instance, I actually think my number one recommendation for this would be Tyler. I feel like you'd get a good kick out of it. And then I
don't watch reality TV.
Me neither.
I despise it.
But Tyler likes it when people suffer. That's the thing.
I love suffering.
Now there's both. Oh man, the Costco incident's gonna fucking kill you. Then there's suffering, but there's also unapologetic joy, and it hits all the feels, man. The nicest couple ever was formed in the most recent season, and it proved to me that love exists. It was because I don't want to get into it, but like the girl was really shy. And she's like a hockey player. She's never been with a boy, and like this hot model boy who looks like Persona 5 main protagonist shows up, and he's like, "I have all these girls to pick, but I choose you." And it was like, "Oh shit," and that they're not together anymore, so love actually isn't real. But at the time, it was like, yeah. Yeah, I think everyone here would enjoy it, and I think all the listeners should give it a try. It is a very nice, different spin on that genre.
Very nice.
That's Terrace.
Yeah, so...
Tell us about One Piece, Bradley.
Yeah, I read more One Piece. After me and Tyler's Terraria binge, I got to today, and I was like, oh god, we're recording, and I forgot to read more One Piece. I was like, so I'll finish the Usopp arc, and then I was like, holy shit, it lasts for at least one more volume. I can't but I read a lot more of it today, and I really like it. There's some things I'm kind of like but there's some things I thought were really cool.
What are you about, and what are you cool about?
Yeah, tell me.
One thing I really liked, and I'll try to be concise about it, is Oda is kind of a genius. And he uses
a little bit.
He uses really good techniques to set up the scenarios he wants to happen. Whenever the pirates first arrive on the beach for their like morning assault on Usopp's town, Oda's like, okay, I want to get at least one standoff where it's like Usopp meeting the pirates on the beach. But then in this same crew, it's like he has Luffy and Zoro, and he's like, okay, well, obviously they're just going to thrash all these lower level pirates. I need to figure out a way to temporarily take them away from the action so I can get this standoff I want with Usopp and the pirates. And he does this in really creative ways and ways that make a lot of sense. Like for Luffy, so what they do is,
I think I'm remembering.
Usopp is like, let's go oil up the beach, so they all slip when they try to come to the village, and they do it, and they're like, wait a minute, the pirates are on the other side of the village, and
they're on the other beach.
Yeah, he's like, I just kind of assumed they'd be here because this is where I heard about it. And then,
fair enough.
Yeah, and then so Nami slips in the oil, Zoro tries to save her, and then he ends up not being able to get out of the oil for quite some time.
I do really like that part.
Which, it's a really comedic way to temporarily take him out of the action. And
but it's also nice because Nami is the one who uses him as a stepping stone because she's like, oh shit, they're gonna get to the treasure or whatever, and she pushes him down to get above him. It's a cute little character interaction between the two.
So like Nami to do that. Like you would expect Zoro to try to help her, and you would expect her to be like, whatever.
That small scene, thinking about it, really kind of emphasizes a lot of those characteristic points. Nami kind of being very treasure-centric, Zoro having the biggest lack of a navigation of direction ever, and then Luffy kind of just being
a goofball,
dumb idiot, big goofball,
dumb pistol.
For
but
Luffy,
at the same time, Luffy has a really reasonable answer of well, they were talking about it here, so I assumed it would be here. It's yeah, okay, I can see why you would think that. Yeah. It's not too terribly dumb, but at the same time.
And then so to take Luffy out of the action after Zolo's caught in the oil, it's okay, they're on the north side of the island.
Zoro.
Cool. So they all start running Luffy's way faster. In event he gets separated and he's like, wait, I don't actually know which direction north is. And that's another thing that it's just so like Luffy.
Yeah.
And it allows us to get the cool standoff where Usopp confronts the pirates.
And it's really nice. He's super out of his element. Nami's also there kind of helping,
this is pre-Baton Nami too.
Yeah. There's this scene, I think you probably got to it, where she has to run forward to do something. So she has to show some bravery too, and she does it. She's not just all treasure. She's got a good heart.
She was trying to get Zoro's swords to him.
Yeah. How far did you get?
I was very surprised. Well, not too surprised. I was kind of happy to see that because we hadn't seen kind of that side of Nami yet. But it's cool to see that whenever it comes down to it, and she's like the last hope, she has what it takes to step up.
I really like when she has to use her hand to put out the flame in Boogie too. That was a showing of that trait of her. Mm-hmm. She will put herself on the line.
Nami is probably the best developed character all throughout East Blue, I think.
Yeah.
At the time, because East Blue is very much mainly about, and you'll discover this later, is mainly about how Nami learned to put the crew above everything else. That's the whole arc of the East Blue saga, pretty much.
Big developments. I agree.
Yeah. And then a lot of other characters have their spotlights later, especially Sanji. God, Sanji has a great arc.
God.
Really late in this series.
Sure.
See, when we get there, I think you'll understand why me and Joe like that arc. But, Bradley, what don't you like about Kuro arc so far?
Well, the main thing with me, and I don't feel fair giving it a full, this is what I think about it until I finish the Usopp arc.
Right.
One aspect I just think is really weird to me, and I can't tell what it's trying to say with Usopp, is where it starts out okay, he's the boy who cried wolf, and then when the pirates come, no one believes him. And then there's this whole scenario where the pirates are actually coming, and then everyone kind of tells him to fuck off, and then when they find out he was right, everyone's like, oh, Usopp, I'm so sorry, I told you to leave. And then Mary, Miss Kaya's other butler, is like, oh, I can't believe I told this noble young man that to go away when he was trying to tell us the truth. And I'm like, knowing what we know now, okay, we know Usopp was right, but from their perspective, like, I probably would have told Usopp to fuck off also, because, like, why would they believe him? And
No,
so
yeah,
they're like, oh,
I think they're
told this.
justified, but they just also feel bad about it.
Yes.
Well, I think the big thing is, one of the big characterizations about the villagers is they really thought Usopp was a good for nothing liar. Like, he was not worth anything. And I think that was more of the point of, like, Usopp has no value in the village. His father left him basically to die. And so you kind of like just like the village kind of saw him more as a burden.
And,
it really
and
didn't.
keep in mind, Bradley
Yeah.
hasn't gotten to the. There will be more stuff on Usopp near the end of the arc.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to give it a final
Yeah.
judgment until I finish.
No,
the
I'm not trying to spoil anything, but it's
Okay.
like, but that's kind of the more of the point of the villagers is less of like he's a liar, more of like people don't respect him, like, and they never have, and Usopp kind of played into that stereotype. Like he felt like he himself had lied to himself that he was useless. That's kind of the idea of that. Oh, I'm a good for nothing, so I should act like a good for nothing kind of deal. And that's why he really cares for these kids, is because to them he's everything. That's why he really goes hard on like the Captain Usopp thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one thing. Is like, here's the thing. I don't think Usopp's a bad character. Like, if he was real, I wouldn't be his friend. That's what I mean when I say I don't like him. As a character, I think he's interesting because you don't have to. It's like you don't have to have a narrator say, "Oh, Usopp feels bad about himself." Like, you see him be the pseudo pirate captain of these 3 kids, and in your mind, it feels kind of sad because it's like he is excellent to his crew, but it's sad because you have to think maybe he only hangs out with them because no one else will.
Yeah.
Little do you know, Usopp becomes the best character in the entire show.
I was gonna say something interesting. No, like, Usopp is probably the best character written in the Straw Hats, up until a certain arc where he becomes my least favorite character. But that is a very personal. It is Dressrosa. I will just say that.
Oh, but what? He's an all-star in that arc. Are
No,
you kidding me?
because it's a backstep. Anyways,
Yeah, so
well, I can understand why you think that too.
As he's written, I like Usopp as a character. As a person, I think he's a little shit, but I enjoy reading.
Yeah, I think you'll become endeared to him. He's endearing.
Usopp is very key to a certain part of the series. Like he's
God.
I don't want to talk about it, but he becomes a big player later.
Big players.
Gold project.
All the Straw Hats do.
They all get their moments.
Yeah, but yeah,
that's my One
anyways.
Piece.
Cool. I look forward to hearing the rest of this arc. I feel like I like it more than
And your
Joe.
score. I think you do. I
like it a bit more than you.
I didn't like Kuro as a villain.
That's the key point. I like Kuro.
I just thought he was
The
boring.
way he manipulates Kaya, that had me feeling some type of way. He's very cold about it too.
Yeah, but we get a character that does that better.
Yeah, I mean, there's
It's
room.
laser on.
There's room for all sorts of assholes. I also like his
Yeah.
very meticulous plans and such, and whatever.
Yeah.
I just wanted to wrap us out talking about Worm a little bit, which I had to really rush through Worm last time. I will.
Gimme.
I will rush slightly less this time. But Worm is the web serial I've been reading, which is Bradley's favorite thing. And I recently read arcs 10.1 and 10.2, and I have been holding how I felt about them from Bradley so I could surprise him now. But they were really good. I really like them.
Yay.
So we're back to the main characters, which I don't like them all very much, but the plot... I only spoke negatively about Worm, I realized last time, but I really like the plot of Worm for the most part. And it really shone in this episode, or not these 2 arcs, rather. Chapters, what are they called, Bradley? These are chapters,
I guess you would
right?
call the individual things chapters, and then there's 30 arcs.
Okay. In these last 2 chapters, certain characters have come back. I really like Regent now. He's climbing up there. I know he goes sicko mode soon, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh god, that fast. He's another example of kind of like Usopp, where I love him written as a character, even though I think he's a
little
terrible
shit.
fucking person in real life.
Well, he has a redeeming moment where he gets the whole crew together. He calms down with Brian or whatever. I really like that. I like the Shadow Stalker stuff. I really like that twist in the last episode or the last chapter where Weld he's a cunning little metal man and he figures some stuff. I have no idea what they're doing, by the way, so I'm looking forward to doing that. Bitch continues to be cool. I don't know how to feel about the new girl yet.
Yeah. To kind of give a little 30-second splurge about this new girl.
She's your favorite character. I know that.
Because what they did in this arc is a new character was introduced. Her name is Imp. New with quotation marks, I guess.
Yeah. She's new to the group, but not a new character.
It's really interesting because in the first chapter of this arc, they just kind of the author just kind of uses her name and doesn't really address the fact that she wasn't there before and kind of talks about her as if you should already know who she is. And it feels really kind of it kind of catches you off guard at first. You're like, whoa, like, who is this? But once you know what her power is, I'm like, holy shit, that is the perfect way to introduce her. So we'll see what Willer thinks when he gets there.
I look forward to that. I give both of these arcs a solid 4 out of 5.
Damn, all right. I like it.
The first one, I was a little iffy on because it's a bit slow, but like it was just Alec torturing a person, so it's kind of getting to like, that edgy time. I know Worm gets pretty edgy, so it's edgy one of those. But like I like that outcome or whatever.
All right, shining, great success.
Yes, things are looking up for the
cool.
Worm boys. Bradley, why don't you take us off with your hypothetical?
Oh man,
or your question of the week.
How we were playing Terraria earlier, and I just had like, I was just like, holy shit! I really want to know. I'm really curious what you guys' answers are. Okay. So I'm going to describe a scenario to you.
God.
And I want you to tell me what is the minimum amount of money someone would have to pay you to do this act.
Okay.
So what you have to do, you have to go to your nearest university, your nearest college campus.
Okay.
On like, I don't know, a welcome week. That's a thing that universities have. Go there on like the first week of school. Find a group of students sitting down and doing like, all universities have like
welcome activities. Like,
yeah. Everyone go around, say your name, say your major, say a fact about you. I want you to sit in the circle. People going around. Hey, I'm Jeff. I'm in finance. Hey, I'm Stephanie. I'm an animal. Something.
Right.
And then it gets to you, and I want you to say your name and say, I'm Willer, and when I grow up, I want to be Greymon.
The Digimon.
Yeah, and then you have to be serious about it. You have to be like, I want to be Greymon when I grow up. My mom says I can't. I'm going to college to be Greymon.
Honestly, buy me lunch and I'll do it.
Hell yeah.
I would have to say the same thing at this point.
Really?
Yeah.
What about you, Willer?
I don't know, man. I'm not good at putting myself in those asshole-less situations and then having to walk out. I'd probably do it for Fitty.
But Willer, here's the thing. It's such a power move.
Go on a trip to a university and do this.
Yeah, we're gonna show those motherfuckers what it means to be Greymon.
I'm gonna be Greymon.
I'm gonna be. But what if I want to be Metal Greymon?
Okay, so if you want to do that, it's the same scenario, but you have to say it like this. My name's Willer, and I want to be Metal Greymon.
Can I be Metal Garurumon?
Yeah, but you have to wear one of those tails that furries wear, and you have to say "woof" between every word.
You know what? At the university here, that's probably more normal than it is where.
You know what? Never mind.
You can do that. All right, that's the podcast. Bye-bye.
We outie 5,000 tickets.
What the
I want to be Greymon.